Welcome to the Explainer. You know, our planet is this amazing, living, breathing world. But what makes it so special? Today, we're going to break down the 4 key systems that have to work together perfectly to create all the incredible life we see around us.
So it really all boils down to this one big question, right? Why here? I mean, think about it. In this huge, vast solar system, why is our planet Earth just bursting with life? Well, the answer, it's all in this delicate dance between 4 interconnected systems.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll explore our planet's 4 amazing spheres. We'll start with the ground right under our feet, then dive into the water covering our world, look up at the air we breathe, and finally, see how it all comes together to create life itself. Let's get into it.
Okay, so first up, our journey begins on solid ground. We're talking about the lithosphere. This is literally the foundation of our world, the stage where so much of life's drama unfolds.
So what exactly is the lithosphere? The easiest way to think about it is like the planet's solid skin. Yeah, it's that hard outer crust made of rock and soil. And it forms everything you can imagine, from the tallest mountains all the way down to the sea floor under the deepest parts of the ocean. You know, it's kind of easy to picture Earth as just this big ball of land, right? But here's something that might surprise you. That solid ground we're talking about, the lithosphere, it only makes up about 1/3 of our planet's entire surface. The other 2/3, well, we'll get to that. It's all water.
And this land isn't just one giant blob, of course. It's broken up into 7 massive pieces that we call continents. You've got the huge expanse of Asia, which is the biggest, and then you go all the way down to the really unique island continent of Australia, the smallest of the bunch.
Okay, so we've covered the solid ground. Now let's plunge right into the planet's lifeblood. We're talking about the incredible world of water, also known as the hydrosphere.
And remember that 1/3, 2/3 split we mentioned? Well, here's the other side of it. A whopping 2/3 of our planet is covered by water. And the hydrosphere isn't just the oceans. It's everything. Ice caps, rivers, lakes, and even the water vapor hanging in the air.
Now, most of this water, the vast majority, is salty. And it fills these 5 huge, interconnected oceans. They're so big, in fact, that you can pretty much think of them as one single, continuous global ocean that shapes our climate and is home to just an incredible amount of life.
But here's the thing. This water isn't just sitting there. It's constantly on the move, in this powerful, never-ending process we call the water cycle. You can think of it as the planet's giant, tireless plumbing system. And without it, life on land just wouldn't be possible.
And it's really a beautifully simple process, broken down into 3 main steps. First, you've got evaporation. The sun's heat turns water into vapor and it rises up. Then, condensation. That vapor gets cold, turns back into tiny little water droplets, and forms clouds. And finally, precipitation. Those droplets get heavy enough and fall back to Earth as rain or snow, filling up our rivers and oceans. And, you guessed it, the whole cycle starts all over again.
All right, we've done land, we've done water, so now let's soar upwards, into the atmosphere. This is that invisible shield that wraps around and protects our entire planet. So what is the atmosphere? Well, it's basically this essential blanket of air, mostly nitrogen and oxygen, that surrounds the Earth. But it's not just one big layer. As you go higher and higher, the air gets thinner and you actually pass through a bunch of different, distinct zones. Believe it or not, we spend our entire lives in just the very first layer, the troposphere. This is where all our weather happens. Clouds, rain, wind, all of it. Go up from there, and you hit the stratosphere, which has that super important ozone layer. And then you keep going up through the mesosphere, ionosphere, and exosphere, each one doing its own thing as you get closer and closer to space. So let's talk a bit more about that next layer up, the stratosphere, because that's where we find something absolutely incredible, the ozone layer. Seriously, think of it as a planetary-sized tube of sunscreen. It absorbs most of the sun's dangerous ultraviolet rays. Without that protective layer, complex life, like you and me, we just couldn't survive on the surface. It's that important. Okay, so we've covered the land, the water, and the air. Now for our final stop, the biosphere. This is the one that brings everything else together in this, well, this spectacular symphony of life. Now, the biosphere is a little different. It's not a place you can just point to on a map. Instead, it's the sum of all life, wherever you can find it. It's down in the soil, deep in the oceans, even floating high up in the air. It's basically that magic zone where land, water, and air all overlap and create the perfect conditions for life to happen. And the signature feature, the real hallmark of the biosphere, is its unbelievable diversity. It's all driven by adaptation. So if you go to the super cold polar regions, you'll find animals like the polar bear. It thrives there because it has these thick layers of fat and super dense fur that keep it warm in that extreme cold.
Now let's contrast that with something completely different. The warm, grassy plains of Africa. You need a totally different toolkit to survive there. This is where you find animals like the zebra, which uses its famous stripes not to hide in the grass, but to create confusion in the herd and throw off predators.
Or hey, how about Australia? It's a continent that was isolated for millions and millions of years, and that led to some really unique animals, like the kangaroo. Its powerful back legs evolved specifically to help it cover huge, dry distances really efficiently. And that's the magic of the biosphere, right? This incredible variety. It's just life, finding a way, no matter what.
And this really brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important point of all of this. Everything is connected. Every single living thing, plants, animals, even tiny microorganisms, they all depend on each other. And all of them depend on that delicate balance between the land, the water, and the air. If one sphere gets unhealthy, it directly impacts all the others. It's that simple.
So that leaves us with one last thing to think about. We've just walked through how these four systems weave together perfectly to make our living world possible. The big question for all of us then is, now that we know our very existence hangs on this fragile balance, what's our role in protecting these interconnected systems for the future?